Hector joined the infantry with a parental permission slip. At 17, he was a high school student. A year later, he was an infantryman on the streets of Iraq. Inside the wire, his platoon lived like the teenagers they still were, playing video games, complaining about roommates, and carving up a watermelon with a machete to celebrate a 23rd birthday. These teens operated under the colors of the 1st Infantry Division, navigating the early chaotic years of the Iraq insurgency. Warning sirens violently interrupted that domesticity. They would wake up, throw on their Kevlar, and immediately pivot from playing cards to scanning a 50-meter radius of charred human remains. This constant oscillation between adolescent boredom and the visceral sights of combat began to erode the boundary between their youth and the survivalists they were forced to become. After the initial invasion ended and the statues fell, the war shifted. The 1st Infantry Division entered a phase of asymmetric occupation, where the enemy was no longer a visible army, but a shadow in the neighborhood. Routine patrols became marathons of vigilance. For hours, gunners scanned the horizon through binoculars, looking for any mound of dirt or piece of trash that might hide a pressure plate explosive. In the cities, the threat was 360 degrees. Every alleyway and brick wall was a potential ambush point, turning every routine supply run into a high-stakes tactical maneuver. Capturing high-profile leaders failed to silence the daily rain of rockets and mortars that targeted their base. The threat was decentralized, persistent, and constant. Living in a state of omnidirectional threat forces the brain to adapt. Over months of deployment, normal cognitive processing slows down as the mind prioritizes hair-trigger survival instincts over everything else. In 2004, armor was so scarce that Hector's unit filled 7,000 sandbags in a single day, lining the floorboards of their Humvees to provide a makeshift buffer against blasts from the road. During a patrol along the Tigris River, an IED detonated. It killed Doc, the unit's medic, a passionate, caring anchor for the platoon. In the aftermath, Hector stood over the debris, realizing that his internal sense of safety had shattered. The belief that good things happen to good people was gone. His innocence had left him on that road. The amygdala, our fear center, becomes stuck in a permanent fight-or-flight loop, hijacking the prefrontal cortex. When Hector returned home, that loop didn't shut off. He felt like an alien in a suburban living room. His brain was still biologically mapped for war. The subsequent years of addiction and self-sabotage were a biological attempt to quiet this noise. Alcohol and drugs offered a temporary, destructive way to numb a survival system that refused to stand down. By 2010, Hector reached his breaking point. After totaling his truck and realizing he was disappointed to still be alive, his father drove him to the VA, telling him he was no longer his family's problem to solve alone. He checked himself into the VA emergency room, beginning a journey through inpatient rehab and a psych ward to finally address the trauma he had been carrying for 6 years. At the VA, a doctor offered Hector a shift in perspective. Accepting Doc's death didn't require him to agree with it, only to acknowledge it had happened. This is the core of radical acceptance. By integrating the tragedy into his current reality, the brain can finally stop the exhausting, subconscious effort of fighting against the past. Today, Hector finds strength in the veteran brotherhood, men who experienced the same split reality. They speak a shared language that doesn't require explanation. War dismantles the minds of the young people we send to fight it. But through radical acceptance and the support of those who were there, it is possible to integrate those memories and live a life beyond the war zone.